Welcome. Glad you guys are all here. We'll be going over Cascading 90, getting 90 to all of your teams. Obviously, we've got me here, Christine Watts, Jim's also joining, and then we've got Stephen as well, who will be monitoring the chat. So like I mentioned earlier, feel free to post any questions. You guys can interact with each other in there, and we'll be collecting all of those throughout the presentation and making sure that we IDS at the end. All right, so right off the bat, we'll do a quick intro. We'll talk about your whole company, introducing teams to 90, and we're doing that through really a couple main things: the state of the company, manager training, process for new hires. So that's like really the bulk of what we'll be talking about. And we'll be going back and forth between some explanation of what those things are and how to introduce those concepts, and then also taking a look at how those are represented in 90 and some tips that you can use on your teams in order to make sure that you are cascading and running those processes well. And then finally, at the end, we'll get into IDS. So again, post your questions. We'll be answering those real time at the end.
Brilliant.
All right. And so, yeah, I'm Christine Watts. Oh, hopefully you guys can still see me. My monitors went off. But yeah, I'm head of client success and product here at 90. So I'll be taking you through really the basics of using the software. And then Jim will be talking about all of the nitty gritty with actually getting in and running these meetings on your teams.
Yeah, thanks, Christine. I know it's this is a as I've said, I'm so excited about this topic because it's such an important part of how we, make sure that EOS really works throughout the entire company, and it's something that there isn't a lot of really pure guidance on. So, I've made it a goal of mine to collect some best practices, gather them all together here, and it's great to show not only how important it is, but also how 90 really helps make that happen. So. And for those of you, there was a couple questions in the chat about my background. This is in honor of our work from anywhere. Christine actually was doing stuff from you're in Honduras,
Costa Rica, yeah.
Costa Rica pretty recently. We do support work from anywhere. We've got some great content on that. So if you aspire to work in joints like this right here, work from anywhere is for you, my friend. So I also wish Ohio looked like this as well, but maybe next year.
Maybe next year.
Global warming. So here's the thing. So we want to engage the entire company. EOS is all about aligning all the human energy in your business. As we say that from the very beginning, when we first started with the 90-minute meeting with the executive team, and we spent a lot of time with the executive team. The leadership team gets all of the excitement. If you're working with a professional implementer, or if you're just you're self-implementing, the excitement around EOS and those first aha moments, those moments of impact that happen as you start to discover things, start to work better, that'll happen to the leadership team level. And the thing is, you got to keep going if you're really going to experience the full impact of what having a company operating system can do for you, because it's about aligning all the human energy, orchestrating everyone rowing the same direction. So, and it's certainly important that everybody else is probably more than leadership team, right? So you've got a lot more human energy there to go manage. And just like my image shows here, the reality is that bright sunlight of the experience of the company operating system, it diminishes at inverse, inverse square, inverse cube law. Stephen, do you remember? Christine?
Yeah, you're a resident MBA, so you should know that, right?
We went square.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah.
We'll go with inverse square for the moment. I think its magnetism is inverse cubed. But the diminishing effects of those things are just a natural part of it. If all you do for your folks is you give them, hey, we're going to do this EOS thing, it's going to be great, you're going to love it, and you don't spend more time actually applying this to the rest of the organization, you're going to miss out, and they're not going to take it very seriously. The reality is culture is baked into what we call rituals and artifacts. In almost everywhere you look, the culture that you live is based in the things you do on a regular basis. There's rituals that we have every day or every week or every month or every year that bring us all together, and we mark those moments. And traditionally we have some artifacts. Christmas tree, on Christmas. That for a lot of people, that is part of their culture, right? And for a business, you got to identify these things where we're going to bake in some of the culture of the business and then bring them out and give them their moment in the sun on a regular basis to make sure that everyone's back in alignment. This is why we do what we do. This is how we do it. This is what makes us different. And get everyone excited about that and connected to it. And that's what we're really talking about here, is giving all those tools that your company operating system have given you to get everyone aligned and making sure it has the most impact to the rest of the organization where most of your humans are. Do I have another thing there? Oh yeah, and here's the thing. The number one job of the leaders in the organization, that means you on the leadership team, is to develop new leaders. If you're going to be a growing company, if you're going to be able to be a company, not just a business, right? Scott Abbott likes to talk about that, the difference between the two. Anyone can be in business and make some money, but if you want to become a company, that means that if that leader in the company gets abducted by aliens or wins a lottery or just leaves for some reason, goes missing, is there still something there? That's a company. To develop a company, you got to develop new leaders, that new crop of people going to be stepping up to take on the roles. And that means on a regular basis, spending the time and the energy to make sure that they're aligned to the company culture and the way the company operates, because those things are brought together. What we do, how we do it, and why we do it, that is our culture. Rituals and artifacts are how we're going to get there, and you got to share it with everybody.
Yeah, it's so easy to get caught up in, oh, our leadership team understands this. We run great quarterlies, we're doing a great job. But until you really start getting into all of your organization, you're focused on such a small percentage of people that truly get what you're trying to do.
Yeah, and here's the thing. So I've as part of what I do, we'll talk about this. Some of this, what we talk about today, comes from my experience training management teams below the leadership team at some of my larger clients. And what happens all the time is the leadership team gets really bought in and really loves it, and they do a reasonably good job of convincing the managers that report to them about it, and it becomes a game of telephone for the next layer down, the next layer down. And the thing is, you got to make sure that you're putting additional light around what you're doing further and further down, because unfortunately, if you've hired the way we teach you in EOS, or where there are good core values fit, the right people, right seats, they got here because they wanted to buy into your vision. If you don't help them connect to it on an ongoing basis, they feel like they missed out. And that's worse than not having anything at all, to some extent. So that's what we're talking about today. So I do have a paper on this. You can contact me if you want to have this paper. This is something I give to my clients about. Hey, here's my best practices around this. Happy to share it. But there's a couple of things that I thought would be really helpful to show how 90 helps with these things and kind of line these things up. So the state of the company meeting, we'll talk about that. And that's part of your shared by all. It's one of the things we talk about in the 90-minute meeting. And then both, you want to do it with a launch and then with every quarter. And I'll give you some insights about what I've seen happen with that every quarter state of the company. Foreshadowing, you don't want it to lose energy. You want it to be better and better as it goes on. Manager training, that's when you're cascading it down to the next level of managers. And what do they need to know? Do they need to go through the whole experience? They're not going to have the whole implementation experience you had at the leadership team, but you got to give them enough stuff so they're really good at it and can get better. That's the key. They got to be able to get to mastery. And the new hires, when they bring in, it's part of what you need to deliver to them as they come in, so they can really participate in the business. And then, Christine, I thought I'd throw this in here as well. I think it's really one of the things that people tell me all the time is that 90 helps with the rollout of EOS. Or the company operating system, by being a place people keep coming back to on a regular basis. And the more I can put in there, and they ask me that strategies about putting more in there, so they spend more time in 90, because that way they're contacting the BTO and everything else. So having more projects and having personal items in there is another great way. So hopefully we'll have a chance to show everybody that stuff.
Yeah, I love that. And I love how really all of these things just become processes for you. So It's not like you're doing one of them and then it's like, all right, we checked that box and we did the state of the company, we're good. It's something you're always revisiting, getting better at, and iterating on.
Yeah, culture is an ongoing thing. You've got to continuously be pumping that culture, because the payback is so huge. You don't want to miss out on that. So rituals and artifacts, these are some of the rituals we're going to talk about. And there's artifacts that are part of 90 that make that culture really stick.
Exactly. So
All right.
state of the company.
State of the company. So we teach this as the beginning of the rollout to the rest of the company. We teach this as, hey, you've got to have a state of the company meeting. And the only thing we really say as in pure EOS world is, hey, you should talk about your core values, have your core values speech. And we spend a lot of time helping people develop that core values speech. And that's something that even without outside EOS, right? I've encountered that quite a bit. Like, hey, here's our core values. Here's how we talk about our core values, and having a better and better way of giving representation to the core values. But you really want to, the point of this is really to bring them to life. You've got to make sure that they have a way of connecting with people in multiple places around the company. But this is where they first are hearing them. And the key here, when you're really ready to take your core values to the rest of the company, is because they do resonate. They do represent what's really inside the company, and they're written in a way that matches with how the company talks. Right? So no aspirational language in there, no 75-cent words that only the CMO knows. Not that I'm referencing anything in particular. But I've been to that meeting, and everyone goes, what does that mean? When that happens, you failed your opening salvo on that. And like you said, Christine, it's critically important. We make that big moment, a big presentation, that there's an opportunity there to really bring people into the culture with excitement, but then you want to reestablish it every quarter. That's about as long as you can go without reestablishing, hey, we've got core values. This is what they are. This is why we have them. And those core value callouts, Christine, those are huge. And I teach all my clients to do them. Actually, now I've started enforcing them. Like, you've got to get core value callouts going, because otherwise people forget what your core values are. But if people start to hear it on a regular basis that, oh, Stephen, I want to call out Stephen for a core value call out. He really represented our core value of apples and peanut butter. And I was really amazing what he did putting apples and peanut butter together. So, and everyone recognized, hey, apples and peanut butter. Yeah, that's us. That's us. When, that really is us. I love that we're all about apples and peanut butter. Great job, Stephen.
Yeah, and I think you can really add the consistency there by bringing them up during the headlines and weekly level 10s. So don't wait until the state of the company to be addressing these on a consistent basis with your team. Right. We add them as headlines all the time. And then at the state of the company meeting, we take a significant chunk of time and let people just open up and share. So at our last one, yeah, we maybe got a little out of hand. We went a little over time. But it's so worth it, because then it's not just, leadership up there giving a presentation and thinking what they're saying is great. It's everybody's participating, everybody's calling out their teammates, and it really helps bring people together, especially like us. We've always been all remote. I'm sure a lot of companies are going that way. Yeah. So it just really helps people stay connected, I think.
100%. All right. So number 2, demonstrating commitment. When you first make this the announcement about rolling out EOS to the rest of the company, it's critically important that you show that you've got a plan for how you're going to check off some of these boxes. How are you going to get everybody else up to speed? How are you going to help them also live through this great experience that you've had? So that means getting them trained, getting them comfortable, making sure they know this isn't just yet one more thing we're layering on top. Because that is the concern people have right away. We see this in the sales process, or the business development process. We don't call it sales in EOS, where people say, you know what, I don't have time to implement EOS. And it's like, dude, nobody ever says to me, I wish I would have waited to implement EOS. You get more time back, you get more focus back, you get further faster. So, but it is the first thing that comes to mind. Oh my God, one more thing to do, and you got to address that straight up front. Demonstrate we're doing this. This is what it's going to be like this. You're going to love it, because it's really going to be a much more healthy company coming out of this, with everyone much more clear on where they're going and how they're going to get there. And part of that is talking about your rocks at the state of the company, which is the other thing we say
Yeah.
You present the VTO, you should be talking about the rocks in terms of these are our quarterly priorities, with the notion that everyone's going to take that back and then start to have their own quarterlies where they say, hey, leadership team says these are the most important things. How can we support that? And that's the thought you want in everyone's head. We're all rowing the same direction. These are the things we're trying to get accomplished. Hey, we've got a part in that. And that's how we cascade it down. But you got to get everybody doing rocks. You got everybody understanding the language to really make that work.
And the nice thing about sharing the VTO and your company rocks being on there is you've got the goals for the year right next to it. So hopefully you're creating some alignment between, hey, we think these things are important and here's why. Here's the big things we're looking to achieve, the measurables we want to hit. And so here's why we've set these goals. And then each team can kind of run with it individually and say, even if it's not exactly lining up with a company rock, I know where the company wants to go and I think I can contribute in X way.
Absolutely right. I mean, the nugget I offer my clients quite often is nobody likes to get on a train if they don't know where it's going.
Yes.
Right? Like, I want to know this train's leaving the station. I want to know where it's going. I feel like that's the way I can align my future and my goals to the company, which we've started to recognize as a critical part of engagement in this post pandemic world. We know we've got to align people. It's like, hey, we're going this way. If you want to go with us, man, we'd love to have you. And people will align to that just cause. And then the last one here, it's an easy one. One of the great things about EOS is that there is a full library of books to go out there, lots of support resources, connecting people with that so they feel part of that community and part of that, they've got paths to learning more. That's absolutely critical so that they don't have, take advantage of that first moment, but then bring it up every quarter. Hey, if anyone wants to learn more, we do have access to these things. We'll be happy to buy you the books, or here's where to go get more information.
Love it.
All right.
And then even if you guys have already gone through all right, everybody in my company has read traction, you can start to think about how your individual teams need to expand. So maybe this isn't really at the leadership team level, but as you start going down, I know for me specifically, there's been a lot of product books that I'm interested in because it aligns with the company vision and wanting to cascade that into the product area. And so sharing those with your team and having some I don't know, it's not a book report any sort of thing, but it's right. It's a great thing to just kind of hey, let's read this, share some thoughts. It's not a bad idea to just expand your team's thinking around that sort of stuff. It's a great
thing to add to the state of the company. And I've seen it done where there's some assigned reading or assigned video to watch before the state of the company. So it is like book club at that point. We've all had the shared experience, and now we can all them to relate to it, and we've got that part. Once again, that's that strong core. Yeah. So even if you've been running EOS for 5 years, you don't have to stop the assigned reading or continued education. I beg you not to, because you've got to put some effort into this, otherwise the whole thing falls apart. So you got to fight against complacency. Each state of the company should be better and better, more inspirational, and learn from it. Every last one of them, get the sense of how much you really get people connected to the vision, connected to the plan, and look for that feedback, because the next one has to be better, and that's the only way this really works. Yeah. I love that you held up your book too, because I've got mine right next to it. Like we planned it or something. Like as if we planned it. We carefully rehearsed that living. All right. Yeah. So let's go over to 90. Yeah, so we want to go into the software a bit. I'll cover a couple specific things. So sharing the VTO, we talked about a lot. Also want to get into the accountability chart, because we will typically share that, especially if you're in a huge growth stage and you're adding a lot of new seats consistently quarter to quarter, making sure there's visibility there in the state of the company meeting. And then I also want to go over something that I feel like is typically missed when you think about sharing the VTO and accountability chart. A lot of people say, I need it to print this certain way, or how is everybody going to see it, because everybody can't get access, I can't afford that. You can invite all of your people to 90 as observers, and then they have access to your process documentation, your VTO, and your accountability chart. So some of those really key things for actually getting into the system and getting into the details. So first, don't miss out on that. It's a great resource. It's a great communications path for people. They get to see and ask questions about their seat on the accountability chart. They get to see the VTO, and it was so depressing. I was doing a training and with a second layer management group with a large company, and they said, and I started walking them through their VTO. Like these are the portions of it. This is your VTO. I said, oh yeah, where do we keep that? Oh, is this the most recent one? Oh my God, that's different. It's like, really, okay, fail. It's a fail, right? These are people that they did a good job of hiring that want to be connected to it. So that's the miss. That's the real miss. So they really, their behavior, their decisions will change based on getting to the thing that we really want.
Yeah, and like Jim said earlier, hopefully you've got your VTO in a great spot. Obviously, if you need help finding an implementer or anything like that, Jim's a great resource to reach out to. He's got a lot of connections across the world, even now.
Across the world, yeah. I mean, there's great resources all over the planet. I talk to lots of them all the time, and you don't feel like you're stuck. This is because it matters. A great VTO can really make a difference for a company.
Yeah. So if you need help, really getting into the weeds and deciding what are my core values, how do I really build this out? I would really encourage you to do that. Once you're at the point where you're running a state of the company, this should all be really fully fleshed out and you're ready to present it to everybody, or just give everybody the refresher quarter to quarter. So core values are right here at the top. Hopefully they're defined in a way so I can come in here and edit them. And you want a description for each one that really gets into the details of, here's how somebody exhibits this core value. And what you can do in order to share these, these are shared automatically across all teams. So your core values, your core focus, and your 10-year target, you don't have to do anything. And any team that you create in 90 is automatically going to see those three things. So if I go to a different VTO, so my marketing VTO, by default, they're seeing the leadership team, core values, core focus, and 10-year target. Another layer to that you can add on is if you want to share your leadership team VTO with all of your teams. So essentially what you would present at your state of the company is even into your 3-year picture, your traction page, where you're getting into your 1-year plan, and then those 90-day rocks and being able to show people those rocks that you completed. Toggle that on, and then they can access it anytime. So when they're creating their rocks for their department, when they're mid-quarter and trying to see how what they're working on aligns with company vision, they can come in here and look at it anytime. And how it works is it's going to share 90 days, 1 year, and everything on this page, but it will not share your long-term issues unless you've specifically said, I am okay with sharing this issue. There's some things where you might want everybody to think about that specific item. We might want to think about, hey, how can we improve the client demo process and let everybody on all of our teams see that? But in order to do that, we would have to toggle it on and make it public. So that's really that indicator of saying if I want to share this issue or not. By default, it's going to be hidden. When you create a brand new long-term issue, it's not going to show up for other teams right away, because there is that layer of privacy where typically, it could be about a person or changing the accountability chart or something that's maybe uneasy that you'd rather present to people than let them know that you're working through it.
And it's all great stuff, Christine. I mean, because this is a communications tool first and foremost. So the tools that have been built into here is to help you communicate these things to stakeholders, certainly everyone on your team, and then others as well. So it's really about, hey, if you're coming along with us, this is where we're going. But it's not the only thing, particularly with the core values. You don't put your whole core values speech in your core values. You put an abstraction that it reminds everybody exactly what that is. But you do have other representations of your core values in other places. The core values speech should be much longer than that. Hopefully you put something up if you have a physical space, you have got walls and people put things. And so all of these elements can live outside this document, but getting it down to its very digestible state so that everyone in the company can understand it, that's the value of it. 50% of the companies have nothing else as far as a planning document, a strategy document, but the other 50% have lots of other stuff, but this is really just the communication part of it.
Definitely. And a couple things to consider during your meeting specifically is what we do is we pull up the archived version of our VTO. So if our meeting was back on June 15th and we're just now today having the state of the company, I'll pull up this archived version, and that way we're going to be able to see what rocks we completed at the quarterly, and then we can show the current version once we've gone through this and say, hey, here's what we did last quarter, oof, not a great completion rate from this random date that I pulled up. But, hopefully these are all checked off for you. And then you can say, all right, we've got last quarter taken care of. Now we'll go back to looking at what we want to accomplish for the quarter moving forward.
Right. Great stuff.
So that's really our VTO. If you do have a core values speech and you want to attach it here, there is an attachments area in the marketing strategy. I would also encourage you, like I'll mention at the end of this presentation, all these concepts you're going to want to put into the process documentation area. So putting, a quick walkthrough of your VTO, saving the recording of your meeting, and then including your core values speech are all some good stuff to put in like an onboarding section, because then all of your new hires can just watch that and get right up to speed as they're coming in.
That's a great call out. Yeah, I mean, it's critically important. Let this be the hub of all that other information, but with the mind that it has to communicate succinctly.
Yeah. And then your accountability chart's a pretty easy share. There's not a ton of settings in here that you need to control. This is visible to everybody in the company. So even if they're just that observer level, even a managee level, they can view this content. One thing the managee and the observer cannot do is edit. So if you'd rather them just have view only access of the VTO accountability chart and process, make sure they're just that managee or observer level. And then when it comes to sharing this, pretty straightforward, because we typically just toggle and explain the areas of what we've added or changed just real time in the meeting. So not a lot of complexity there. Just a matter of if you want to share this mid-quarter, you're not in an actual state of the company meeting and you just want people to have access to it. You do have a PDF option where you can print it on multi-pages or a single page. So if you wanted to really zoomed out and you can take it to Kinko's and have them blow it up really big, that's a great option. Or like I said, put everybody in the directory, add them all as observers. It's completely free to have somebody as an observer. And then at least they're in a spot where they can log in, view again, the VTO, accountability chart and process section. So a great communication tool, so they don't need to like be in a weekly meeting necessarily. Maybe you're still working on cascading 90 throughout your organization, at least give them access so they have some context.
That's a great one. And when we talk about departments or projects too, I mean, you can create a project that is state of the company and then create meetings in there. There's the standard format. We're going to go to this part, then this part, then this part of all the material that's already in 90, and make 90 the place for you to show it. That way people know that's where it is. You don't abstract it out to a PowerPoint somewhere. Just show it right in here and make that part of how you display things.
Yeah, I love that idea. So Jim mentioned you would essentially have a team in here called State of the Company that you could go to, and then you could have a unique meeting agenda for that team. So if I come in here, maybe we want to review VTO, accountability chart, you're choosing what specific areas you want to go into. So it's a great option when it comes to customizing a specific team and meeting agenda for that.
Yeah, including if you wanted to have a couple of slides in there, you can add a section for those slides and it works out great.
Yeah. Love it. Let's see. So we will go on to the next one. I think I covered everything. So,
yeah, it was great. Thanks. It was good.
Yeah. Manager training.
So once you've had your state of the company meeting, that's usually the very first thing that happens. You're going to want to start almost right away getting the next layer of managers. That means anybody who has a direct report on the accountability chart is a manager in this world. And there's some things they have to learn how to do to be effective, to start being taking advantage of what we do in EOS. So must confidently run the weekly meeting. I do a lot of my coaching outside of session with my clients, teaching the managers how to be more confident in that weekly meeting. The most important part there, Christine, is how to drop it to the bottom, how to not get caught up in people wanting to talk about it when they talk about it. It's like, nope, drop at the bottom. We'll decide what is urgent and important when we're looking at all the things we're going to talk to, and we'll take them in the right order. Because quite often we have people that have had more ad hoc meetings, or they're just not really great managers. You got to get to the place where they can really, that's the tool that if they wield that well, everyone's going to come along. So it's well worth spending some time teaching them to be really good at that, because it includes getting through it confidently, making sure everyone's actually engaged, right? So if someone's not speaking, you got to call it out. It's a little bit easy. It's a little bit easier when we're live. We have to get good at Zoom as well.
Yeah.
Make sure everyone's participating in that meeting, and making sure that there are issues on the list to go solve. People are sometimes at the beginning very hesitant to bring up issues. They gotta have the confidence and feel the safety. We talk about trust an awful lot. Mark Abbott, our founder and high priestess, he's been writing a whole bunch of articles on the importance of trust and getting to trust and what trust looks like. You need to get to a certain level of trust before people actually want to create issues. If people aren't creating issues, Christine, they don't trust you that you're actually going to deal with those issues in a real way. They don't want to get in trouble. They don't want to be causing a problem. Get them to the point where they're really confident creating issues, and then you'll be good at IDS and really solving. And man, I just had a quarterly yesterday, and the team had really turned the corner at being good at raising issues and prioritizing them and knocking stuff down. It's like, oh my God, it's so fun, because they feel the confidence of, we're actually accomplishing things. We're making good decisions,
getting stuff done.
Shared decisions. It's a great impact moment.
Mm-hmm.
Then they have to get to the place where they're conducting quarterly reviews. So one of the great ways that one of the most important regular meetings we have is not just we have the state of the company, but then these one-on-one meetings, these between a direct report and their manager. And that's an important ritual, because that's another place where we reestablish the core values, because we say, hey, are you aligned to core values? And we make sure we've gotten from assumptions to agreements, right? The expectations from where you are on the org chart, what your roles, responsibilities are, what your numbers are. Hopefully it's clear, but once a quarter, we want to make sure we reestablish, say, hey, this is what I'm seeing. This is what my expectations are, and I'm going to make those expectations super clear, because these are the ways I'm measuring you against those expectations to agreements. These people also have to be able to be reasonably good at cascading the vision. Remember that picture of the inverse squared law. In the back of the theater, it's really dark. So you got to make sure that as you're passing this stuff down, everybody is good at cascading the vision. So you've got to make sure you've trained them to the point where they buy into it. They understand the core values. They understand all the pieces, so they can also light that fire to all the people that report to them. And they should start taking rocks. Anybody that's got someone reporting to them probably has visibility into ways of making the company run better. And that's how I teach who gets rocks. Pretty much anybody that has anyone reporting to them, and anybody that wants to someday have someone reporting to them. So that's a great way to get someone really ready to be a manager in the organization, to be a leader, is to start giving them rocks.
That's great. Oops.
So how do we get there? How do we get all these things accomplished, Christine? Well, as it turns out, there's a lot of different ways. There's infinite ways, having coaches and mentors in the business. But one of the things I wanted to offer was I do run these sessions, and they've gone very well for my clients. And if people want to contact me once again to find out exactly what goes into these things, I take managers through a very specific version of the tool set, usually just living in 90, so they're just living in 90, but taking them through the learning that goes along with each of those tools as we implement it. They don't have to implement them, so we can do it much, much quicker. So I do 3 2-hour sessions. That way it's not too much fun, but we get them out of the process of work. So they're working on the business, not in the business. And they get a chance, most importantly, to ask questions. So the first one, overview and context. So we start teaching them the language. We start giving them the sense of, here's some resource with the traction library, maybe get to the 5 leadership abilities. We got to establish a sense that there's a reason why, what's in this for me. That's what I'm doing in the first session. Then the second session, I started giving them, really going through the foundational tools that they have to understand, that they have to be able to be facile with, to be able to do their jobs well. Because with those things that they have to go out and start executing on, they got to be able to think about their team and the structure of that team. They've got to be able to take on rocks. They got to be able to have those quarterly conversations. They got to be able to run the L10. And then the last session we'll do is like the capstone session. So hopefully by the end of the first 2 sessions, I got them what they need to be able to start doing stuff. But now I'm going to try to inspire them with the VTO conversation, and go through the things that go into leadership and management. In the EOS way. What are those specific things that people need to know to be great leaders, to be great managers? Together we call that accountability. But once again, the most important thing is you got to give these people an opportunity to ask questions, and trust that they can get to clarity on what being good at this looks like, what mastery looks like outside of the operation of business. That's how everyone in the leadership team learned it. We take them out of there so we can actually step back, learn these things, and start executing with them before we put them back in and make them sort of make it happen.
Yeah, and I really like the idea of these 3 sessions too, because the first one is that the context. Hey, here's why we're doing this. Why as a leadership team, we went this route, this sort of operating system. Yeah. Then you're getting into the execution. And then finally you're saying, here's how you can better manage your people and have those one-on-one relationships. So I do like the layout of this. And something I will say is record it. When you do this, make sure you record it, save it. You'll want to do these in person again, or like, on Zoom again for each person coming on board, because you want to give people the opportunity to ask questions, but having that recording that people can go back to for the refresher is just so helpful.
You got to remember the 7 times rule. We and this is, for those that into pedagogical science, the science of learning and teaching, 7 times is about right. You need to be able to say something 7 times before you can be 90% certain that someone's actually heard what you've said. So having a chance to break into 3 sessions rather than having one great big long day session gives you that opportunity to repeat things over and over again. Review we talked about before. Everything that's got an acronym to it, I will repeatedly say the acronym and what it means again and again. And I have it on it's part of my agenda. What are the things I have to have said at least 7 times by the end of these 3 sessions to make sure that those things really are solid? Because without that scaffolding of understanding, I can't start, hooking on all these things that we could mean a mastery.
Right. So in 90, a couple of the things that you'll want to actually dive into, you can do this in the session or give it to people really like as homework to take back, but measurables and process, they're connected to the accountability chart, and letting people understand that connection and helping them think of better things to be tracking and better ways to manage in that area is great. And then getting into editing the meeting per team, kind of like I was showing you earlier. So giving them the ability to have unique sections. And when you start thinking about level 10 meetings or weekly meetings on non-leadership level teams, you really just want to be giving people the space and freedom, like Jim mentioned, to identify what the issues are. So if that's pulling in like a marketing calendar for the marketing team, whatever it is that's going to help you identify the issues, I'll show you guys how to add an iframe into the meeting agenda so it actually will pull up real time within the agenda. And then we'll also want to go over quarterly conversations. So I do have an in-depth training on that, both in the Help Center. We've got videos, and then we also, the very first product office hours we did was a deep dive into the feedback area, talking about quarterly and annual conversations. So I can link to that in our follow-up email, but those are a couple of good resources to check out if you want to get really in depth with like how to actually run those, but we'll cover a little bit of that today.
Yeah, I mean, those are great resources. I mean, it's such an important part, of really taking this and getting it all the way down to the bottom of the accountability chart. It's so important.
Mm-hmm. So the first thing I wanted to mention was just measurables connected to the accountability chart, process connected to the accountability chart, because in that second training session where you're going over a lot of those execution items, it's really helpful to show people how things are intertwined. So on the data page, you can come in and any measurable that you already have created, when you click on it, it's assigned to an owner, but you can also choose a seat. So for me, it looks like I'm sitting in a couple seats on the accountability chart in this account, and I can choose which one this is relevant to. Right now, it's not going to give you any responsive feedback on the accountability chart or anything like that around the seat that you've selected. But where we're looking to go is actually showing you, hey, on your accountability chart, here's how things are performing based on the measurables that are attached to the individual seats. So over time, we'll give you some visualization and insight into how your seats are performing, your teams are performing based on those measurables that are connected to the individual seats. So it's as easy as that, choosing the owner and then the seat. If you click on this top button, it actually shows you the seat first. So if you know, hey, I'm looking at initial demos, I'm going to go to a sales seat and select somebody who's going to own that measurable from here. That's a really easy way to kind of get into the weeds on that as well. And that's also how it works on the process page too. So each of these individual process steps can be owned by a person. It doesn't mean I'm doing this process right now. It just means, hey, whenever somebody is hiring, if they have a question about it, they know I own that process. They can come to me with questions. So when I click on the name here, it's the same layout where, hey, if I'm in the hiring process, we're probably going to go to an HR seat and let's give it to Daniel. So you can choose who owns it by looking at the accountability chart seat first and thinking about it that way. And same thing, no visual representation back to the accountability chart right now. That's where we're looking ahead in the future. And you can even attach measurables to these individual process steps too. So kind of like what we were talking about on the scorecard itself, but here we're looking to attach measurables, and eventually we want to get to the place where you can actually see what processes are performing based on the measurables that are attached.
And the way I've seen this used really, really well, Christine, is having all of those other things that go into these processes linked from here. So once again, it's the 2080 rule. This isn't supposed to be your complete standard operating procedure manual. It's supposed to be the steps, and you can link to other resources. You can attach, you can add attachments here, but use it as that one central place that everybody can get to for free, by the way. Everyone can get to these things in your company and just know, hey, this is what happens next when I need to go do this. It's a great shared resource.
Makes it so easy. Like we have a process step in onboarding where it's just everything we want to include in the new hire rock that we assign to somebody as soon as they come on board. And it's got the videos, the books we want them to read, all of their information. And all we have to do is come in here and make it a rock. And then it's going to go right on their list with all of the links and details that they need. So like you said, having all that stuff in here just is a huge time saver moving forward.
Yeah, perfect.
So next I want to talk about the meeting function on the individual team. So when your managers start running their own meetings, they might not follow the exact, senior leadership team agenda, and that's okay. You might want to give them some space to experiment with what works best for them. But like I said, some teams are going to deviate just a little bit here. Maybe they're not at the point where they're adding data here quite yet, or they've got data in 90 and they want to pull up a Domo dashboard or whatever kind of marketing analytics platform they're using. I would say give them the space to experiment with that, because like Jim said, you're just trying to create an environment where they're flushing out what the issues are and letting them build some confidence around like knowing how to find those and identify them even during the week on their own. So if you do want to add a new section, click here. And then when you go in to name it, so you can call it whatever you want to, you got two options. One is adding a URL. So I can pull in even, this presentation right here. If it's just a Google slide, I can pull in, like I said, any iframe friendly links. So if it's a calendar view, if it's HubSpot leads, whatever type of information, you can check the URL to see if it's going to work, and it'll give you like a mini preview over here. If it's not pulling up, it just means that the site has a layer of security on it that's not letting it come in. So you want to contact that company, whoever it is, and ask them for an iframe friendly link. That's just kind of the keyword you can use with their support in order for them to give you a link that'll work within here.
But we've worked with a bunch of companies to make that work, right? So that's the the more common ones. So it's great. I've seen in every company I have where I have visibility into their manager level, department level L10s. The sales team has key deals that have to be closed this month that comes out of Salesforce. Marketing will have something coming out of HubSpot or whatever the CRM is. Purchasing will have something that comes out of another system, because that's where their issues really lie. You don't need to duplicate that stuff. it's great to have measurables in the system that everyone can see, but once again, that's partly reporting and organizing across the entire organization. You're going to want to have that next level of depth at the department level, so that once again, they shouldn't have to struggle to bring things in. We can make it easy, and once again, the easier it is for them to pull up issues, you're going to manage them better, and you're going to get further faster.
Yeah, and even if there's not something specific you want to pull up, a list of leads, if you just want to present a question, let people think about something, just write in anything you want to here. This is just a rich text area, so instead of going the iframe route, if you want to pose a question, what's been your client's biggest struggle this week, whatever you want to do to get people talking and thinking about what the issues are, add it as free text in here, and then you can obviously rearrange these sections and control how much time you want people to spend in each one too.
Yeah, and it's quite often the department L10s won't be 90 minutes. They'll be shorter. As we go further and further down the organization, we need less IDS time, more than likely, because we're not making big decisions for the most part. They're solving issues. You still want to give them a chance to make sure nothing festers. So it comes up, we're checking on things, we're looking at some key numbers. But I've got one client that's like really 4 layers deep, and they've got half-hour my weekly meetings, and that's all, because they have other things that go on during the week, one-to-one coaching, and because they're trying to bring these people up. But that weekly meeting where 4 or 5 people are in, half hour, that's all I need.
Yep.
And that's quite okay.
All right, and then I knew I was forgetting one, quarterly conversation. So regarding those one-on-ones, doing them once a quarter within here, we give you a great framework. So the quarterly conversation area, when you want to create a new one between a manager and their direct report, you just click on the new button up here in the top right. A lot of times people call it, Q1 marketing review, and then you can select who the manager is and pick all the people in the marketing department just at once here. Just go down the list, and this will create a conversation between that manager and each person individually. And then you'll select the seat that you want to review for them. And this is important because we're pulling in the GWC layer. So you can see that person's accountability chart seat, the roles they're responsible for, and then rate them on that GWC. And then you choose a conversation due date as well. One thing I'll call out is this make it formal option. I would really encourage you to explore that. It lets you, if I hover over it, gives you a quick description here, but it lets each person see the other person's responses once the forms have been submitted. So the way this works is I fill out my forms, Jim fills out his, and then once we've both pressed submit, then the responses become available to each other, and we can actually run a feedback meeting in the system.
Right.
Yeah, so it makes it a lot easier to collaborate back and forth. It's not like you have to just talk through it. You can actually see it, interact with it in the system. And the nice thing is it does pull in not only ROT completion rate, but to-do completion rate and your measurables over the time span that you select down here. So it's really helpful for getting into the high level core values GWC, and then also getting into some of the performance metrics as well.
Yeah, I mean, this is really such an interesting tool, because it really lets you can set the period that you want, whether there's an LMA in it or not. I mean, it's a great tool for making all the decisions you'd normally have around those quarterly conversations.
Yeah, and hopefully having the template here just makes it easier for even the new managers to come in. They know what they're doing, why they're doing it, and then the first one they run, it's all laid out here for them. So each person, like I said, is filling out these forms on their own. And then once I'm done, I can click submit down here, and that'll indicate to Michelle, who's hopefully filled out her form, that I'm also done. But this is just kind of a quick scroll through. There's even that leadership and management assessment. So it's not all one-sided. The manager's also getting some feedback about how they're doing and performing and communicating as well.
Yeah, it's a good call out too, Christine, that it really does help the managers stay on track, and the employee as well. And you've got tool tips in here. You've got the chat bot down there to help with to go find articles and stuff if you get stuck. I mean, it's really it's a very powerful way to make sure that this becomes a valuable interaction, not just something someone's checking the box with.
Definitely. All right, and like I said, there's a lot of like little nitty gritty details we can get into here. I'll avoid it for right now unless you guys have questions on it. And then we'll be sure to link to some more in-depth training where I really go through, creating every conversation, what happens when each person fills it out, what the statuses mean, all that good stuff. So jumping back in, now we'll talk about new hires in general instead of just the manager training.
Yeah. So, like I said, rituals and artifacts, you've got to make this part of when you bring on new people. Hopefully, you're hiring, firing, reviewing, and rewarding people on their core values. You bring in these people that align with the core values. That you're putting them in the right seat. Now you got to get them really onboarded into all of your process. And the value of having an intentional company operating system versus an accidental one, which is where most people start, is that there is something to train them on. You can actually say, this is how we do things. This is how we hold meetings. This is our standards around how we advance the company. This is how we report to each other. This is what happens, how we turn assumptions into agreements. So you can try, everyone will find a lot of value in this. The managers, you're going to have them to go to the manager training because they need one sort of thing. And the leadership team members, new leadership team members, probably want to have even more. You want to take them back through that entire experience so they can, and you can do that in a very compressed period of time. You don't have to facilitate them through the decisions, but they should be able to buy into how the decisions got there, right? Christine, we've seen it in 90, when a new person comes in, until they understand what we went through to get there, it's hard for them really to buy in.
Right. Yeah, or have the context to be like contributing and issue solving and coming up with solutions and things like that, because you really need all of that context for somebody to feel like, the confidence to really start contributing too.
Yeah, so when we do at 90, I lead the same kind of session. We have recordings of me doing the 2-hour, 3 times with previous cohorts. But every month or so, we have another bunch of people that have come through. They're new ads, and we'll find a time for them to spend. We'll go through the 3 steps, because once again, it's 7 times rule. So even if I give them the videos, having that opportunity to take them through the content and then poke them to ask questions to make sure they're really clear on it. And it's the same manager level stuff, so that because anyone that's going to be managed should know what the managers know as well, because that's what they need to be successful. And we take everybody through it, and they make sure they ask questions. And one of the tricks we use in that session is I make everybody write down things they learned during the session. So that at the end of the session, they report back what they learned. And this is a pedagogical trick. One, it makes sure that they're paying attention a little closer, because they have to write some things down. They know that they've got an assignment. So they're going to look for 3 things, and just one. Not going to pick the first one. They got to keep reminding themselves, oh, I'm looking for things. 2, at the end of the meeting, when they tell the rest of the team what they learned, that's the second time everyone else has heard it. And now they get to present it. It actually sticks even better to their brain. And then I get a sense of what they found important, right? So I've got a really good sense of what they picked up on, and usually can contextualize why it's important again. So to try to get as many of those 7 times and really embed the most important things. And it works nearly perfectly every time. It's a very simple tool. Tell them at the beginning, you're going to write down 3 things that you learned today that was new for you, that you think will be valuable in your role. That's my full script. And at the end, we review those things with everybody. And it's better for everybody that way.
And so just so everyone listening, just as a refresher of what Jim just said, what we do is somebody comes on board, they have access to all of our video content, so they can go watch these sessions ahead of time, hey, put it at 2x speed, breeze through it. We're hiring at a rate, I don't know if this will apply to everybody here, but instead of doing these sessions one-on-one, we're getting essentially 3 people together at a time. So some people, it might be a month delayed from when they actually start to actually getting into session number 1, just depending on how that timing lines up. But once we've got a group of people, then we're pushing them through that 3-session process. It's the same for everybody. And then once you get into the manager and leadership team members, you can start customizing at that point with additional things and context that you want to provide them.
Yeah, like we just did a session. We've got a new executive on the team. We've got a quarterly coming up, so we did a special session just to prepare for the quarterly. This is the language you're going to hear. This is the practices we're gonna follow. And let's get really deep on rocks because you're gonna take some rocks.
Yeah. Speed training.
Yeah, you just like get ready. Here it comes. Well, because ultimately, part of the value of this is the language that the common language. They have specific meanings. This language means something, so that we have once again we can really come to agreement on what all the words mean.
Yeah. All right. So I think the main thing I want to do in here is go over the process section, which we've
Yep.
gone to a couple different times today. And then, yeah, that's it. So showing you where you can access training and some things about 90 that I would encourage you to grab some links and even include them in your process documentation. So as you're having people come on board, it's like, hey, go watch this overview video. It explains the software, why we operate on it, and what you can do to start contributing. So
The onboarding rock is my favorite hack with this is by giving someone a rock at the very beginning. They've
yeah.
done their first rock and documenting it within the process documenter, so it's really easy to go create that rock. Everyone goes through the same stuff, and you can continuously make it better. Every someone owns those processes and is in charge of making sure that it's better every time.
Yeah, and just so you guys have a quick layout of the process section of 90, because I don't think we've spent a dedicated product office hours on it quite yet. It's really developed into 3 layers. So this top layer that we're looking at right now is our core processes. So what is it, Jim? Like 6 to 10 things that the company has really identified. So it's
Yeah.
not a ton, and it's not a huge list, but it's just high level. Maybe a department has 1 or 2, but just looking at, the core of the business and what needs to be documented. And then you can dive in and get into a little bit more of the specifics. So for HR, as an example, we've got a way we hire, onboard, update the accountability chart. So you're kind of training and development, obviously, on there. Where you could put these specific processes in. So you've got these big buckets of like, here's what we're looking to accomplish. There's arrows here, but it doesn't need to be in any sort of sequential orders, and you can reorganize these however you'd like to. And then there's just plus signs at the end where you can add new steps to this list. And so essentially, if this is the core process, that's layer 1. Now we're in layer 2 here with our steps, and then you can go one more layer down into sub steps. So now you can see 1, 2, 3 built out here. So within hiring, how we search for people, screen people, interview people, all documented. And a lot of times this work is happening externally. It's not within 90. When I'm interviewing people, I've got a specific applicant tracking software. I've got a Google Doc, whatever you're using, link to it. People will have access to the link. They can go watch a video. They can fill out the PDF forms, whatever it is that you have. And at least you've got all the resources listed in here and some explanation of like why it's done this way, the team members involved, and then how to execute.
Yeah, when we first teach a process, we say 5 to 15 core processes. But the reality is that it's just to keep, we're always trying to get to 80% when we're in session. We don't, you're going to figure out over time what everything you need to have in here. It could be much deeper. You do have the 3 layers, so you can think about it that way. And from a tool set inside 90 perspective, I've seen so much creativity with how people use this stuff, Christine.
Yeah.
And like keeping track of customer information in here. Like if you've got really dozens of customers as opposed to thousands, it's
right.
This could be all you need for a CRM because you have very specific stuff. Oh, we're at this stage of the process. Okay, this is the thing I need to send them. Oh, and this is the template I send for this letter at this time. It's quite brilliant. All the layers that I've seen put into here, and have different people owning these things. It's brilliant.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense actually, now that you say that, especially since you can move these around. So I could easily change the parent process or move it to a new section pretty easily. So you've got that kind of like movement around, whereas things shift around, you could have that layer of adjustment in here.
Michelle taught me one of those, like with EOS clients, like, okay, now you get it ready for the focus day. I'm going to clone my focus day process over to this new customer.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love
Yeah.
that. So this is where I would really encourage you guys to get in and document, here's what we do for state of the company, link to past videos of past state of the companies, have them accessible for new hire onboards that are coming on board, and do the same thing, as you go through all of these different kind of trainings that we've gone through. And then 90 training. So hopefully a part of your onboarding process, especially if you're at the manager or leadership team level, is 90 itself, since your company is operating heavily within here, most likely. So I would encourage them to come over here to the right-hand side, let them know that there is a live chat. You can also link to our resources page, which is in here. And then everybody that signs up, we email them this, but schedule a one-on-one call. It's so easy. We recommend it to every user. So it's not just when you create a brand new account, it's as people are getting added real time, they'll get that email to reach out to our team. But it's just a really easy way to take some of the onboarding off of you guys and put it onto us. So we can explain what 90 is, how you guys might be operating. And of course, if you're bringing on a full team at a time, we're obviously happy to do a full team training session so that it's really easy for everybody to just be in one call and ask questions throughout.
Yeah, I mean, I can't overemphasize the value of that as a resource. I mean, I do a lot of these training sessions inside 90, so people start to get more and more comfortable being in there. But then having a dedicated training, once again, having it abstracted outside the organization gives people a much easier way of asking questions. That if it's not their boss showing them something, that there's a little hesitancy to ask some questions. Let us take care of that. Christine's team is amazing at helping people get very good at 90.
And I'm actually going to give myself a to-do, because I think in the follow-up email, it would be good to include some recommended links for people. Here's what we suggest you send out or put in your process documentation area for links and resources. Why not?
Yeah.
That way I can do it after the meeting.
Perfect.
All right. And then I think we've got, let's see, one more.
Yeah, that's fine.
Go ahead, take it away. Oh, yeah. You mentioned this earlier. So the projects and personal in 90. So getting into the meetings and rocks.
And yet the point of this is really that it isn't just your accountability chart. It's like everything you do. The deeper you let people start to solve their problems with 90 and doing it within the structure of your company operating system, the more effective those things will be. So quite often we see a breakdown, like, oh, we're going to have this project to go make this thing happen. Run it on an L10, on a customized L10 for that process, and make 90 the collection place for all of the stuff that goes into that, including all the issues that come up. People get used to that, and you're taking advantage of the fact that they already know how to interact in that way. And so that team becomes, and that project becomes much more successful because they can create that project team, take on their own rocks. We do this with nonprofit boards and peer groups like EO and YPO, where they're just using us they run the meeting, they keep track of rocks and to-dos for their team. It's not their job, but it's one more place where you can keep it all together.
Yeah. And to set that up, so what you would do is come down here to the settings area. And so when you create a new team, you can toggle on this project option or not. And so essentially the only real change in here is that team doesn't have a VTO, because they don't really need one. It's
right.
A team of people that are across departments. Maybe it's temporary. So you don't really need a VTO in those specific cases. And then, like we were mentioning earlier, have a unique meeting type for that team. That team can have their own rocks. And then you can even have to-dos within it. So whoever, if they're not running the typical level 10 meeting, they can still have accountability and ownership of items through this kind of project teams concept. And then, like Jim mentioned too, as you're creating even something as simple as a to-do, if it's not related to a project team, even if it's just like, I've got my to-do and you're trying to teach and train accountability and they don't have a way to track these things, they can be personal items where it's just, they're going through their own personal to-do list too.
And all of this stuff rolls up to the My 90 page, which is really what make this all work so great. You know, Christine's got 15 hats she wears at 90. I've got, you know, a whole bunch of companies that I help move along, but I can look at what my responsibilities are all summed up together in one place. All my to-dos, here's my scorecard, my milestones that I got coming up, rocks that I'm working on, and including, you want to go ahead and scroll down really quick, including some fancy graphics.
Yeah, and it's really nice because I can look at everything Monday morning, here's what my week is going to look like, or it's Wednesday and I've got a specific meeting coming up and I can filter specifically for that one that's coming up and see what I need to get done. So you've got a lot of options on here in terms of the filtering and looking at your own information. And then same thing when it comes to the charts, you can look at individual teams, you could look at just your information, so you can see how you're performing, and you've got a lot of options in terms of that filtering. All right. So I think that wraps up what we had for slides. And so I know you guys have been in the chat. We'll head over to the IDS area. So if you haven't asked your question, go ahead and throw it in the chat so Stephen can add it to our issues list. And then, like I've been saying, we'll include some, you know, videos, help articles, a copy of this training in the follow-up email too. All right, let's go to product office hours. Great. So headline section of meetings. I've had a hard time utilizing the headline section when running a meeting. It feels like you have to type headline just to convert it to an issue or to do. So what I typically suggest is encourage people, just like in the middle of the week, if they think of an issue, add it to the issues list. When you think of a headline or something comes up, add it as a headline. So you can create new ones just using the create button up here in the top right. I defaulted to an issue since that's the page I'm on, but you can toggle over to headline and create it right here. So if I've got a core value shout out, like we were mentioning earlier, I can go ahead and put core value, maybe it's teamwork, and I can put Stephen, and then maybe I want to write like a little description of what happened. So I would really encourage people to do this before the meeting starts, just as you're going about your normal day-to-day, week-to-week business. And then you can, of course, create them real time in the meeting too. I'm wondering if that addresses your question though. Let me know if it doesn't.
Yeah, the thing I teach all my clients is that the part of the value of the consistency of the L10 meeting and the quarterly meeting and the annual meeting is that you know exactly how to prepare for it. So you know we're going to check in. So let's not waste any time going, oh yeah, that's right. What happened good this last week? You knew that last night. Tomorrow morning I'm going to be in a meeting and I have to have something good that happened to me. And that moment of reflection ahead of time gets you really set for the meeting. Same thing with your headlines. What are the things that should be out there? If you're managing people and you're running a team, you should probably have a certain number of core value callouts you want to do on a regular basis. It's just as part of establishing that culture. Make that one of your rituals. Hey, this week's core value callout, I really want to call out this person for this thing. And that's a great thing to do in headlines because you can cascade it to other L10s as well, by the way. That's one of the values of doing it in that part of the meeting.
Yeah, and all your headlines that you create during the week will show up on this meetings page. So here's that one I just added. And then like Jim said, during a meeting, if you do want to turn it into an issue, if you want to cascade it, create a to-do, you've got all of those options within here. So you can access those right away as well.
Cool.
All right, rolling out to diverse teams. So kind of getting into the part-time and hourly staff members question when you've got a lot larger of an organization. How have you seen that handled, Jim?
Yeah, you know, I've had some great conversations with people trying to solve specific problems. At the EOS conference, I had a great conversation with someone that has people that don't have access to computers or smartphones on a regular basis, so it's difficult for them, and they don't have email addresses, so they can't even be added. So we've been working on coming up with a phone number login methodology for dealing with some of that. But it does take some creativity to figure out how to get it down to everybody. The I would say that the thing you want to keep in mind is what the goal is help what can I do to help these people buy into the values, buy into the vision of the company, and what values that return to them and to me. Is it help, because it can help solve problems with turnover. It can help solve problems with just performance, but turning expectations into agreements is one of the things we talk about a lot, and the value of that, and the value of saying, okay, here's very specifically how we talk about your job and your responsibilities, and how we measure success with that, and what processes are part of that, and because all those things help to get to agreements as opposed to just having expectations. So yeah, I mean, I agree. It's not a one size fits all at all. I think I've had some people I get, gosh, man, I don't see a path for doing too much with it, because there isn't, if you've got people that are just working 10, 15 hours a week, it's going to be hard to set aside some EOS time for them. But the state of the company could be part of that. Like, hey, how do I help them know we're going somewhere and there's new opportunities for them? Because chances are you want to give them an opportunity to embed more at some point.
Yeah, and I like what you said about really like reversing that and thinking about what your goal is first, and then working backwards from there. Because it might be, instead of those 3 2-hour training sessions, they just need an hour once a week for the first 3 weeks that they're with you guys.
Absolutely right. So I mean, it's really you can really minimize it down to like, what are the tools that really matter that I need to have this person so they can be as effective as they can possibly be. And I have these conversations all the time, because people, we've got a lot of giggers out there right now, and it comes to how much time they spend, how likely they are to stick around, and how much I care about that, and then their level of sophistication as well. I mean, that it really, we want to calibrate to make sure that we're doing, there's enough juice in the squeeze, that we're going to put effort into rolling this out, that there's something that it's going to benefit the person, the employee and the company.
Yeah, and really implementing great manager training is another good thing to consider here, because that's your full-time primary contact to get really like a pulse of how that team is working and those individual part-time or hourly staff members are doing. So making sure the manager has some sort of input on like what they want to do for that onboarding process, and then what it should look like on a quarterly or weekly check-in with their direct reports. It's probably another good conversation to have, and start thinking about the goals in that way as well.
Excellent. Good question.
Say the company.
So we actually remind people now, when they run their leadership team quarterly, that it's time to schedule your state of the company meeting. So because it should come. Here's how we think about it. I mean, Christine, I think is that we have our quarterly, and then we're going to have a state of the company meeting. That's where we're going to present our company rocks for the quarter, to everybody else in the organization, so they can start aligning around those company rocks. Of course, everybody that's on the leadership team already knows what they are, but we'll have, and we have our quarterly on the 12th, and we're going to start having department quarterlies
the next week.
Yeah.
So we schedule it. The state of the company doesn't usually fall like at any specific time. It just needs to be after that leadership team quarterly. Right. And then it might be like before your departmental quarterlies, might be in the middle of them. It just depends on like those team schedules. So we usually set, here's our leadership team quarterly date. We try and schedule the departmental quarterlies over the next 2 weeks after that point, not letting there be like too much of a buffer. So your quarter's still like pretty much in line. And then your state of the company can fall like anytime in that hopefully like 2 week-ish period. But yeah, definitely do it quarterly, because you want to review, here's what we did last quarter, the goals we set, what we hit, here's our goals, what we set and are going to set for this next quarter. And then obviously that like person-to-person connection of the core value call outs and really making sure you guys are on the same page with vision and everything like that on the VTO.
Yeah, the 90-day world concept within EOS is well founded. And it comes from partly our still agrarian brains and our alignment to seasons, by the way. So it happens to be about 90 days, but in reality, it's like we need a refresher every season. So most religions, by the way, have a kind of a big event every season. We came out of our agrarian gods and whatnot, that we have the harvest god and we have the winter, the lights coming back god. So but coming up with that as part of your rituals is every quarter we're going to get together and we say, hey, this is how we did. Let's celebrate our accomplishments. Let's understand where we fell short, and now we've got zero chance of impacting that. The next thing we're going to do is this next 90 days. Let's this is what we're all going to do together. Everyone got it. Ready, break, heads down, work hard, come back. We're going to celebrate again. And other operating systems actually give you a chance to create a theme with a known celebration at the end of the quarter. So this is it's really about, that is the ritual that aligns with how people really think and feel. That's why it has to be every quarter.
And we honestly don't do a ton of prep around ours. So definitely meet about it the first time you do it and maybe the second time and have a plan. But at this point, we're not putting a ton of time and effort and here's this whole presentation for everybody. The people in your company, they just want to see the other departments and interact with people. And I wouldn't put a ton of stress on figuring out the exact perfect thing to do. I would just, start.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And better and better won't be because the PowerPoint's better. That's not really.
Yes.
It's about making sure that you're digging in and you're giving the company the hug that it needs at that moment. And it's just how we express our love and appreciation to everyone in the organization. And pause for a moment and say, hey, well, yeah, but we're going to miss out on work that day. That's okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
This is playing the long game. We need this. We need this moment. Recognize who we are. Reset. Okay, now let's go.
Yeah, we let our chat go for an hour and put a little away message up. So if you ever see that, no, it's true.
It's true. we're taking care of business, my friends.
Yeah.
We're living what we preach.
All right. So yeah, I mean that's 100% true. So
yes.
I hope you guys take advantage of it. And you don't have to do anything special as long as you just have it toggled to observer. You can even go, there's a billing page in the settings area down here, and you'll notice there's a special line for observers. So you'll see that they're still counted. It's just $0. So
it's just a toggle, but add everybody. I mean, add everybody in the organization as best you can, so that you can actually work on things with the accountability chart and you can't assign them stuff, but chances are there's a certain tier where it stops adding value anyway. So, but they'll be there when it's time to start assigning them things.
Yeah. I have gotten this request before. I really like the idea, Eric. So he's just thinking, on the accountability chart, even if a seat is open and you're looking for it, a lot of times companies will still put a person in that seat to represent who is doing the job right now.
Yes.
So some sort of tag or identification of knowing, hey, I am looking for this seat. Right now you can just put it in the title, not exactly the end all solution, but we are hoping to add tagging to the accountability chart. So that would be something that you could, hey, tag this seat as, in progress of hiring or hiring next quarter. And then you could pull together all the seats that did have that specific tag on it. So hopefully we're hoping that tag option is a good one, because then you could even do things like office locations or, other things that you wanted to have filterable on there as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing I teach quite a bit is when anybody's in multiple seats, it should be an issue because you can't really give all of your attention to multiple seats, right, Christine?
Yes.
So the two things I do is if there's one seat that really needs to be filled eventually, then it should be an issue for that. But you can put a marker on there like to be filled or open. But also, I tend to put make the teams decide on or agree on level of effort or hours per week per seat. As a team, let's agree
Yeah.
how much effort, how much of Christine's effort's going to this one versus this one. Let's just come to an agreement between us. It's right there. That way it was like, hey, I think she should be spending more time on this. Yeah, but the accountability chart, we said we agreed to this. And you can do the same thing with, by the way, with all the roles and responsibilities. When there's value in being more clear and getting to clarity with everybody, it's worth putting something, percent of effort, hours, whatever it takes.
Cool. Let's see. I saw Eric raised his hand. Do you have a follow-up question? Figured I'd ask since I saw you did that.
Yeah, I was just going to share, we really talked about the accountability chart and being able to have it reflect open positions and the multiple benefits for us as a company, in regards to morale, maybe scorecards. And so what we had done was we created 4 users that were signed to an observer, and we uploaded our icon, our logo to it. And so that kind of is allowing us to represent it. If you print it out, it doesn't show it, but we named every one of them open position 1 through 4, and we found it helpful. So I thought I'd share.
I love that.
Yeah, that's fun.
That's a great idea. Thanks.
It's not EOS pure, but because EOS pure says you can't have any open positions. Someone's doing this work right now, or but I like that. I think that's a smart use of the tool set, though.
Yeah, and it's a great, you can have multiple people in a seat. So you could have, hey, here's the person that's responsible for it right now, and here's our little open position placeholder as well. So you've got the visibility.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Eric. Thanks for raising your hand.
Really good. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Giving visibility to managers. Oh man, I should have just kept you up here, shouldn't I? Can you apply the level of visibility without having that manager as part of the team? So right now you cannot. So the way that the role structure works within 90 is an owner and admin. They can see everything in the account regardless of what team they're on. So right now I'm an owner in the account. So even if I'm not on Mike's team, I can still toggle and view that specific information. But if you're a manager or managee or observer level, those 3, you have to specifically be on the team in order to see the content. So Eric's question's coming up, and it's come up from others too. I want somebody to have visibility of this, but they're not in the meeting, so I don't need to see their name as an option to be rating the meeting every single week, but I still want to give them access. So right now we don't have that kind of level of flexibility within the role structure. So you would just need to add that manager to the team. Their name would show up, unfortunately, and you just have to mark them absent every single week. But that's definitely something we can look at improving on moving forward.
Cool.
Can you print the 3 layers of processes? The process section, actually, I really want to get to the point where you can just press print and it gives you a little, booklet of everything. But essentially right now, it's just going to print whatever you have open. So as an example, if I've got HR, hiring, and then all of the sub steps of hiring open, when I press PDF, that's what it's going to give me. So it does show you the 3 layers.
I'm still seeing the issues list. It seemed like maybe we were Zoom got us stuck.
Let me pause share, resume share. What about now?
There we go.
Oh, yeah, it did get stuck. Let's see. Oh, it didn't print. So it should print everything that you, so I expanded into the specific hiring section of this. So when you use PDF here, it should print out HR, hiring, and then the steps below that. So you do need to go to each individual section and press print in order to get the export from that area, is the only thing. But other than that, it does work this way where you can print the 3 layers of processes.
More to come on that. I know that's a we've talked about that plenty.
Yeah, so I know a big feature request for people in that printing of processes area is being able to just press PDF on that page, and you could get, here's HR, here's all of the stuff in HR, and then it just goes right into the next area. So you don't need to print each individual section itself.
Yeah, yep.
But your processes are probably being evolved over time. So it's definitely, I'm always like, oh, do you really want to print it? I never print anything though. So I'm a stickler about that. So it, you know,
their paper, man. It's all right.
yeah, add them as an observer, then they'll like have all the links and it'll be active, you know,
Right.
always updated. 90 as a CRM. If I replaced our CRM, where would we add Revolver? Not really a feature yet, I would say. So I wonder if I've got an example.
Yeah, well, it's not the tool for managing. It's really about CRM steps. So if you have, like we see this with all of our coaches, you know, a lot of our coaches use 90 as the with all the process documenters as all the steps for their processes, and all their clients become a like they'll be
Here we go.
little process is all clients. There you go. And then you got all this kind of information about, I know how I'm engaging with them, where we got, and you could add things like, you know, what do they have for lunch, and you know, there's a lot of stuff that Michelle keeps in these, and so that's the part of the CRM that they've got that we do. And we don't, as a coach, coaches have typically between 5 and 30 is the most I've ever heard current clients. And maybe if you've been doing it for a while, you have 30 or 100, 150 past clients. I don't really need to do a whole lot from a CRM perspective around bulk emailing those people or managing whether they hit my website or not. That's not my concern. It's mostly about, what do I do what I have do for them when, and have I make sure that I've taught the right things. Like you can see here, Browning Pools, they've been taught the 8 cash flow drivers in Colby. You know, those are the additional tools we add during quarterlies. As we add more quarterlies, we'll add more tools. There's probably the pay rate in there, because that'll be different for every one of our clients. So it's not a replacement for everybody, but if you've got a small set of customers, you can keep a lot of information here, and maybe you don't need a CRM.
Yeah. So this is definitely the example. We're looking at active clients. Each one of these is a client, and then you've got the detailed information, and you can move them around different sections. So if, AZ moving became a past client, then they would move into the graduated section, and I could push them over there. So that's kind of how people, coaches specifically, because they're in that group where they've got tens rather than, the hundreds, thousands that maybe a typical company has. So not really a ton of like CRM specific features, something we'd love to get into in the future.
Watch this channel.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely worth talking a little bit more about, in the coming years. All right. Comments in the data section. Is there a way to add comments? So not yet. I will show you guys something, maybe I shouldn't, maybe I should, who knows, but we do have it in beta. So we've got a couple beta features. If you would like to be a part of our beta program, you can request it through our little live chat down here, and they'll get y'all synced up. But right now, the main features in beta are on the scorecard page. So one thing that we have is the ability to add notes within here. So I can click on this and add a note to this specific area. So for me, if we lose a client in a given week, then I will put their name. If I got an email response on why, number of users, I'll detail all of that within here. And just so I've got that information over time that I can go back and look at. And then, same thing, I think all of you guys have the custom goal there, but if you put in any goals that you want to notate specific reasons why it's going up or down that given week, you can apply that same sort of logic. The two other things that are in this beta option, if you are using it, are the trailing 4 and 13 weeks. This is really cool. It takes your weekly information and translates it into a monthly and a quarterly view. So you're actually looking at all of our weekly measurables, but it's on a month by month basis. So it's actually aggregating the data real time. So this is pulling in, I can't edit it. It's pulling in exactly what I entered over the 4 weeks for this measurable. And it either does an average or a total. You choose which one you want it to do. So most of them are total just by default. Obviously, if you got like percentages and things like that, you don't need a total of a percentage. So we've given you that option to choose what you want the calculation to be. And then same thing if I scroll down.
Yeah, and let's be clear. I mean, it's a more sophisticated business that understands you should be not running on calendar months, but on trailing 4s and trailing 13s. And you can look at trending a much more intelligent way. I mean, it is the right way to think about numbers, because that way all of your chunks, all your periods are the same size, right?
Yes.
So like a lot of franchise organizations will run on periods, and they have a certain number of periods a year, so they have exactly the same length. So we can go 1 to 1 and understand exactly what the trend means, as opposed to, oh, January was great, February sucked, what happened?
Yeah.
Like, oh,
and you
yeah,
got
right.
like 5 less days and whatever else. So
And whatever else happened. So we all take Groundhog Day off. So
yeah.
but it's just more a better way to look at numbers and start to be able to discern trending.
And the final thing on here is in relation to that trending comment, goal forecasting. So instead of being reactive and putting in the custom goal just as the weeks pop up, now, or in this beta area, when you click on this button, it actually is pulling up the measurables moving forward. So now you can see we're going into the future, and I'm actually entering the goals here. So when I click in here, I can enter the goal, and then that'll show up next week when I go to, enter the value. So it's just an easy way, like for us using it internally right now, we set, here's our measurables on the VTO, what we want to reach by the end of the quarter. And so I'll come in here and put in each goal incrementally going up until we hit that quarterly goal at the date of our next quarterly. And that way I know week to week if we're on track with what I was looking to hit. So it's kind of a fun way to get in there and actually have things line up and be a little bit more dynamic, especially as it relates to the VTO.
Well, here's the best reason I think for that is that way you can set your goals week by week towards getting to that increase at the end of the quarter without having to look at fields of red every quarter. The red should be, hey, if it's below this, it's a problem. But when your plan is to rise to something, it's not a problem until that last week, right? So you're not necessarily off track. And yet when you want to use those visual cues to really understand whether you're off track or not, or even just have the numbers. Oh, it's below. Why? Oh, because that's our end of quarter goal. That's a horrible way to look at your scorecard. Make your goals all specific to the week. If you got a ramp, figure out what you want that ramp to be. Be mindful of it, and that way you really know whether you've blown it or not, or you're in trouble and you need to go do something about it. Because you should be able to look at it and go, okay, 3 weeks in red, it has to be an issue. We have to talk about it. And if you don't do that, then you're looking at red all quarter.
All right. Well, hopefully you guys liked that little sneak peek deviation. I know a couple of you guys have seen it. We talked about a lot of those scorecard features, I think, in our February office hour session. So I've got them all in a playlist in YouTube if you want to go through and watch them. And we talked a lot in depth about those specific features. We didn't have them developed yet, so it's all slide based, but now we've got them actually out there. You can, again, chat with our team down in the bottom right corner and request access to that beta program to be able to start using those right now.
Terrific.
Okay.
Well, hopefully that helped everybody.
Yeah. Went a little over, obviously, but hopefully it was helpful. And, per usual, give us some feedback. Let us know what you want to cover next time. And really appreciate you guys joining.
Thanks so much, everybody. Great job, Christine.
All right. You too, Jim. Thanks.
Thanks, Stephen. Bye now.
Bye.